Hello everyone. Thank you very much for joining our special LUMIX announcement today. I'm James from Panasonic, and I invite you to join me as we embark on an exhilarating journey in the world of photography and videography. Picture this, the thrill of capturing breathtaking landscapes in your dream location, or the excitement of working with a new client for the first time. And at LUMIX, our mission is to support creators of all levels around the globe unleash their creative potential. We are here to ignite that passion within you. Last year, we introduced the groundbreaking LUMIX S9, a game changer that dramatically shortened the time from capture to sharing. And before that, we launched the versatile hybrid mirrorless cameras, the LUMIX S5 Mark II and S5 Mark IIX, designed for a wide range of creators in mind. Throughout our journey, we've kept one thing in focus, the common goal of all creators, to continuously evolve as a creator and to produce the best content possible. And today, we are beyond excited to unveil the pinnacle of our S-series hybrid cameras, the LUMIX S1RII Mark II. This is more than a camera. It's your ultimate creative partner, crafted for those who demand the highest quality in both photography and videography. Let's dive into what makes the LUMIX S1RII Mark II a true masterpiece. The key to capturing the highest quality photos and videos lies in the camera's image quality performance. The LUMIX color science, developed in collaboration with creators just like you, embodies the perfect philosophy for content creation. We have relentlessly pursued the ability to translate the memories and sensations felt on location into stunning visuals that will take your breath away. Both in the past and moving forward, LUMIX's color science will remain a constant, and we believe this consistency and unity represent its greatest value. With the incredible 44.3 megapixel high-resolution sensor of the LUMIX S1RII Mark II, you will capture your vision in astonishing detail. Whether you are shooting landscape photography or commercial studio shoots, the S1RII Mark II provides unparalleled flexibility in post-production. And with our high-resolution mode, you can create jaw-dropping 177 megapixel images right in camera, without the need for a tripod or additional software. Imagine capturing those decisive moments as quickly as they happen. The LUMIX S1RII Mark II features a high frame rate burst mode, allowing blackout-free shooting at an astonishing 10 frames per second in H+ mode. With a blazing fast electronic shutter speed of 40 frames per second and pre-burst functionality, you can confidently capture wildlife and other fast-moving subjects like never before. This is our first mirrorless camera to support 8K video recording, with a dynamic range of up to 14 stops, offering a multitude of recording modes tailored to your creative needs. But that's not all. We're also introducing a new photo style, Cine-like A2. This neutral and balanced photo style excels in dynamic range and color gradation, allowing you to create cinematic footage straight out of the camera. Now, autofocus and image stabilization are crucial to modern mirrorless cameras. The S1RII Mark II features 779-point phase hybrid AF with enhanced AI technology for precise detection of faces and eyes, even in challenging scenarios. The tracking AF performance has evolved significantly, enabling you to follow specific subjects with remarkable accuracy, whether you're capturing a thrilling football match or a beautiful wedding. Our renowned image stabilization technology has been further refined, providing up to 8 stops of stabilization for handheld shooting. And for those of you who thought it couldn't get any better, we are taking our electronic image stabilization to the next level. With the new cropless mode, you can utilize electronic image stabilization without cropping the frame, ensuring your wide-angle shots remain intact. You need to try it to believe it, but I can tell you now, it works like magic. Now, let's talk about the ultimate shooting experience. With the body weight of just below 800 grams, we've completely redesigned the body to ensure optimal operability as a hybrid camera. With a 1.84 million dot, tilt and free angle rear monitor, you can easily switch between high and low angles, making your shooting experience more dynamic than ever. The 5.76 million dot EVF ensure that you will see every detail in high resolution, making it easier to compose your shots with precision. We've also added a photo, video, and slow and quick switch, enabling you to instantly and seamlessly switch between photo and video shooting. The S1R Mark II features dual card slots for CFexpress and SD card, ensuring reliability in even the most demanding shooting environments. Designed to withstand harsh conditions, the S1R Mark II operates flawlessly in temperatures as low as -10 degrees and boasts a shutter durability of 400,000 cycles, giving you the confidence to shoot in any environment. Inside the menu, you will also have the choice to have the shutter automatically closed when the camera is turned off. We had the pleasure of having Jody McDonald, a renowned adventure photographer, test the S1R Mark II in the challenging conditions of the mountains of Nepal. Let's hear what Jody had to say about her experience with the camera.
My name is Jody McDonald. I'm an adventure and documentary photographer. In my workflow, it's really essential to be able to trust your gear when you're in remote locations and you're far from civilization. And the S1R2 allows me to do that. So on this trip, I was really impressed with the temperature range on the S1R2. It's capable of shooting -10 to 40 degrees Celsius. In the mornings, it was below freezing, and then the day it would get extremely hot. I felt like the dust-proof feature on the camera for this trip was extremely important. I was really impressed with its capability because we were in dust storms and a lot of really strong wind, and it really stood up. So having the shutter close mechanism in extreme environments like this just gives me a lot of peace of mind. And that's really, really important when I'm in very remote locations and I don't have the ability to get parts or get my camera fixed. And I thought the S1R2 was extremely comfortable. I could walk around town and not even really know it was in my hand, which was really nice. Ultimately, toughness is a way to make sure that nothing stands in the way of the images I'm trying to capture, no matter how extreme the environment is. The S1R2 is an extremely tough camera.
Now, let's talk about the workflow capabilities of the S1R Mark II. In an age where social media is an integral part of our daily lives, the need for high-quality content has never been more important. The Open Gate feature allows you to capture high-quality output in various formats with a single recording, supporting 6.4K. Additionally, a future firmware update will introduce an astounding 8.1K and 7.2K Open Gate recording, maximizing the use of the sensor and granting you creative freedom in framing and composition. For those who seek the highest image quality, the S1R Mark II supports internal RAW recording, removing the need for external recorders and making high-quality recording more accessible than ever. And let's not forget about audio quality. For the first time in the LUMIX S series, 32-bit float audio recording is available with the DMW XLR2, providing a vast dynamic range that ensures distortion-free sound, giving you the confidence you need in every shoot. To aid in exposure settings, the LUMIX S1R Mark II comes equipped with various tools including waveform, vector scope, histogram, and now false color. This feature, commonly found in professional cinema cameras, greatly enhances your workflow and ensures you capture the perfect exposure every time. Don't forget that LUMIX cameras are compatible with a wide range of third-party accessories, including strobes, SSDs, and external recorders, providing the versatility needed for different shooting scenarios and workflows. Once again, we are excited to introduce LUMIX Lab, a solution designed for creators who need to share high-quality photos and videos instantly. This speed is a shared value among both professionals and hobbyists. For professionals, especially in client work situations, same-day delivery is increasingly expected, and we believe LUMIX Lab will be the perfect solution. Moreover, for creators who rely on storyboarding in their content creation, we present the new LUMIX Flow app, which seamlessly integrates storyboard creation, shooting, and data management. With this app, you can easily create storyboards on your smartphone and also use your smartphone as an external monitor, eliminating uncertainties during shooting and streamlining your workflow. We are extremely excited to announce that the LUMIX S1RII Mark II is the first LUMIX camera to support tethered shooting with Capture One, a critical tool for professional studio work. With its high-resolution sensor, the S1RII Mark II is an ideal solution for commercial production, including portrait, fashion, and still life. Additionally, the S1RII Mark II supports proxy recording and Frame.io integration, allowing for real-time data sharing and feedback with your team and clients, revolutionizing the concept of deadlines in content creation. To showcase the S1RII Mark II in action, I'd like to introduce Max Papendiek, a professional fashion photographer based in New York, who had the opportunity to work with our new camera in one of his client jobs.
I'm Max Papendiek, and I'm a fashion photographer. The communication with the LUMIX S1RII Mark II is limitless. One of the best functions of this camera is that it is compatible with Capture One. I'm able to get in there, we do a light test, we check the light, we check it with the client, and then we check the colors and see if the client is liking the colors and the feel and the mood, and we were able to do this very efficiently. It makes me a better photographer. So, it makes me more efficient. It's able to make sure the client is happy with not only the quality of what we're shooting, but the quantity, because that's always the balance. It's quality versus quantity, and this is able to help bring both of those up. And even if the person can't be in the same room while I'm filming, we were able to use Frame.io, camera to cloud, and the client would be able to see exactly what I'm shooting from a different space, in a different country, wherever they are, remotely. They can see what I'm shooting straight away in an instant. So the workflow with the LUMIX, for me, allows me to be more time efficient and capture more in one day.
For those who don't yet have a Capture One account, we are pleased to offer a 3-month free trial with the purchase of the LUMIX S1RII Mark II. You can access the QR code or the link in the description below to claim your free trial of Capture One. To enhance your shooting experience even further, we're introducing a new battery grip, the DMW BG2, which provides consistent handling for both portrait and landscape orientations. When recording directly to an SSD, this grip can power high-consumption recording modes, such as 5.8K 30p ProRes RAW. In conclusion, the S1RII Mark II is designed to provide the ideal shooting experience for every creator. We are committed to pushing the boundaries of what is possible in photography and videography, and we believe that the LUMIX S1RII Mark II will be a powerful partner in bringing your vision to life. I hope you're ready to take your creativity to the next level. Join us on this thrilling journey with the LUMIX S1RII Mark II. Once again, thank you for being a part of this momentous occasion. Please stay tuned, as Sean and Matt will be answering any questions you may have about the new camera during this live stream.
All right, so Exciting times here for LUMIX. Obviously, as we just covered the S1R Mark II announcement, we're gonna do probably about a 15 to 25 minute, maybe 30-minute Q&A session here. Because I've seen a lot of people asking some questions online, and yeah, we're just gonna be able to get you guys some updated info. So what I would say is if you have a question, and I'm monitoring both our global YouTube channel as well as the US channel, just tag at LUMIX, whether it's the global or the US one. It just makes it a little easier for me to see some of these questions. But don't worry if we don't get to your question today. I will be doing another stream this Thursday and probably for the next couple Thursdays heading forward, where we're going to continue to answer your questions. But yeah, so one of the first questions that actually I saw just as it was kind of running through is what's the price? So for the US, I know the price offhand. It's $32.99, so $3,299 for the body only in US. For your specific region, wherever you are in the world, make sure to check with your particular websites, either the Panasonic website or your local retailer. They'll have the most up-to-date pricing, as well as whatever kind of combination kits are potentially available. So encourage you to take a look at your preferred dealer, your preferred location of purchasing, and you'll be able to get that information. The other question that I had is, that I just saw quickly as it was running through, is the LUMIX Flow app. So the LUMIX Flow app is the new app that we have for really like post-production and pre-production. So it covers, like we said in the video, from scripting and storyboarding all the way out to your editing side, so even within capturing. And to give you a really base level conversation, because I'll talk more about this on Thursday where I can actually demonstrate it a little bit easier. LUMIX Flow obviously is compatible with S1R Mark II. It is planned and expected to be available for the S5 Mark II-X, the S5 Mark II, and the GH7, but those will come later on when we have a firmware update for that compatibility. So hang tight on those. But when you use this, you're going to be able to create your storyboard, you're going to be able to create your shot lists, and when you plug it into the camera, and to be clear, this is for iOS or Android. If you're on Android, you can use it in your standard mobile phone that's running Android, or you can run it in tablet for an Android device. If you're on iOS, or the Apple ecosystem, it's going to be the iPhone to start, but iPad OS is something that is being worked on to provide use for the larger screens there. But once you're working with it on those devices and you plug it in with USB, you're going to have a prompt to say, hey, turn on LUMIX Flow. This will give you a live feed to your mobile device, which means it functions like an external monitor on the go. And as you're capturing content, as you're capturing for your set list, you then get the ability to tag and say, hey, this is a good shot. Hey, no, this was a bad take, or maybe I need to review this one later, as you're capturing each of those scenes. Once you're totally done with the shoot, the app will kick out an XML file for you. It'll either save it to the CFexpress card, or you can save it to your mobile device, so that when you get to your editing side, you're able to then take it, put all your files, offload them off the card, take the XML file, click it, load it, and it takes all that metadata and organizes your footage in your project as you captured it. So it's an end-to-end workflow assistance tool. The cool thing is that, while yes, this is designed for LUMIX cameras, and that's where you're going to get the most functionality out of it, just like LUMIX Lab, you can download the app yourself and start using and playing around with it before you get your S1R Mark II, and use your phone's camera as well in the basic mode or the smartphone mobile mode of this. So it gets you the ability to kind of play around with it and work with it so that you can kind of be comfortable with it when you actually get your S1R Mark IIs. Okay, I see a bunch of questions coming in here. Just be careful if you are spamming a question or a comment in the chat, because you may get timed out. Just keep that in mind. I'm already going to be timing a couple people out here. One of the things that the other questions that came up here is about the 4K 60p the 4K 120 frames per second. And just to be clear, those are from full sensor width. So you're getting the full image area. You're not going to have, like some of the previous cameras where you have a Super 35 crop within those. But one of the nicer benefits with, say, like 4K 60p is 4K 60p is offered in 422 10-bit all intra, but it is also a downsampled 4K 60p. So this is coming from the full sensor width resolution, and then downsampling to your 4K 60. So it's going to be real sharp, it's going to be really nicely fine detailed, and you're getting that all intra option when you want to use it. So it's going to be a really solid performing. I mean, I've loved working with it so far with the camera. And the other kind of cool thing with it too is that, you know, again, it's not line skipped or binned. So you're not going to run into that kind of softness that you typically see with full frame cameras, especially in higher resolution that are doing 4K 60p. So it's a really big step up when it comes into our system. Let's see a couple of the other questions that came through here. Ones that I can grab quickly here. Is there still external BRAW support through HDMI to a video assist? So when we do have the RAW over HDMI update coming, that will be provided in more detail when those firmware updates are available. And like typical fashion, it'll be Atomos recorders and Blackmagic recorders. You may have to wait for Blackmagic or Atomos to release their firmware updates as well, which is pretty typical. So yeah, you're going to have support on both of those formats with it. Are we getting 4K 120p uncropped? Yes, it is a 4K 120 frames per second uncropped on the S1R Mark II. McCary, will Sigma lenses eventually get dual IS? Currently, it is not quite as good as Panasonic lenses on Panasonic bodies. So yes, you do have dual IS with Sigma lenses. They are considered first party within the L-mount alliance. So that means that yes, you do have the ability to pair both of them. There's different operating modes with different lenses. So various different lenses are going to have some slight different performance when you compare them across the board. But you do get dual IS with it. It's maybe a little bit different than what ours is because it depends on stabilization motors, gyro sensors, all that kind of stuff from lens to lens. Obviously with our lenses, because we build them, we are building them from day one, we have everything involved from day one with it, but we do work within the L-mount alliance to make sure that there is solid compatibility across the board. Let's see here. Where's the other ones here? 3x2 60p. No, so you can do open gate up to 30 frames per second within the S1R Mark II. Mighty says, can you talk about the 177 megapixel photos, no tripod? Yes, so just like we do on the S5 Mark II, the S5 Mark IIX, the GH7, the G9 Mark II, all of our modern cameras, we have the high resolution shot mode. This uses our insanely strong magnetic stabilization system, so the in-body stabilization system. And when you go in, you can tell it and say, hey, I want to do handheld or I want to do tripod. Handheld includes things like the motion correction automatically so that the little subtle movements that your hands make can be corrected for it. So you can get up to 177 megapixels for your image. If you're going to be doing some, really like high-end studio where you've got a tripod, yeah, you're going to turn tripod mode off and you're going to be using your camera, either mounted, however you've got it set up so that you can really make sure that you get absolutely no shake, because there, when you're on tripod mode, you can turn off the motion correction, which is just a choice that you have within the camera. So you get a lot of performance out of this. And you can change the resolution of the high resolution shot mode if you don't necessarily want 177 megapixel. But yeah, you've got that full functionality with it. Over from the global chat, does Capture One work with Lumix cameras? So the S1R Mark II is the first camera in the Lumix lineup that is natively supported with tethering and RAW support with Capture One. The beautiful thing about that is that from day one, When you get your camera, you're gonna have RAW editing support. So it's not like, typically where you have to wait a little bit of time for the software companies to implement RAW. You're gonna have that with Capture One. And you have access to a 3-month trial. If you've never used Capture One before, you have access to 3 months to work with Capture One, see if it's something that works within your particular workflow, if you like the raw editing performance out of it. And yeah, it's a really solid program. I would say if it's been a while since you've used Capture One, it's definitely worth taking a look at it, especially since, with this, you're getting 3 months for free with it. Yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer to be able to do it. I know everyone loves to be able to actually work with the full-blown RAW files from day one, and this gives you an industry-standardized program to do that with. So lots of fun, really awesome to finally see Capture One RAW support and tethering support for the studio photographers out there within the LUMIX lineup. One of the other questions, does it record vlog? If so, in what resolution, sensor size, and FPS? All resolutions, frame rates, image area of recordings, everything you can record in vlog. This has vlog v gamut, so it's up to 14 stops of dynamic range. Everything's there with the camera. This truly is the kind of ultimate hybrid camera for the LUMIX lineup, and that was really kind of the goal. Being able to build a high-res camera that offers just as much for photographers, even down to the point of making sure that we're working closer with flash manufacturers to ensure that you have a first-class experience with working in a studio, and then into the video side of this, making sure that you're getting everything that a run-and-gun, a hybrid camera really would be beneficial for. When it's weddings, events, fast-paced motion, talking heads, stuff like this. You've got everything within this camera, and it's a really solid platform. Let's see, max flash sync speed. Max flash sync speed is 1/250th of a second, so it's pretty standardized flash sync speed for this kind of camera. Is there an optical low-pass filter on the S1R2? No, there is no low-pass filter on this camera. One of the things that I think, especially if you're coming from the video side, this may be something that might be new for some people, but when you go higher in resolution for a sensor, it reduces drastically the need for a low-pass filter in video to correct for things like moire. There's already been a couple things from people that have been working with this camera that have been comparing it to even an S1H. As far as how the moire control is in things like 4K 60p or the 5.9K 60p options. So I encourage you to go take a look at some of those tests as they get published and they're out there. But higher resolution reduces the need for low-pass filters to correct for things like moire. So yeah, it's a major improvement over what you see in pretty much every camera that we've had. It is definitely a massively fun camera and a really high quality performing here. I did have another question about live streaming functionality within the camera. This was actually on both of the streams. The S1R Mark II will continue to support RTMP-S live streaming, and obviously it's always up to what your region, what your country, all those kinds of things allow you to be able to do. But you can do RTMP-S live streaming directly to outlets that support RTMP-S for that. If you are using the LUMIX Lab app, you can hard USB tether right into your phone, which will unlock up to 4K 30p. If you're doing Wi-Fi connection between the camera and your mobile device, then it's 1080 60 frames per second is the maximum you can do. But yeah, it's within the camera, so you have it. Let's see here, some of the other questions that come in. What battery type is this using? This is the BLK22 battery. So it's the same battery that we're using in the S5 Mark II, the Mark IIX, the GH7, the G9 Mark II, the S9. It's our standardized battery for the system. Let's see here. Where are some of the other questions? Oh, geez. 32-bit float supported with built-in camera or just with the external mics? 32-bit float is compatible with this camera with the XLR2 audio adapter. So when you plug that into the XLR or the hot shoe on the camera, that will give you 32-bit float up to 4 channels. You can toggle it down to just 2 so that you've got that directly in embedded into your video footage. The nice benefit there for some people is that you're not having to worry about syncing your audio later. You don't have to worry about saying like, hey, what are the file names on my recorder? How do I match them? Spending time to match them with your video clip file names. So it just simplifies the entire process. And last I've seen is that like basically almost every editing program supports editing with 32-bit float audio these days, at least all the modern ones that people are using today. So let's see here. People are asking about rolling shutter and the sensor readout speeds. I do not have that information on hand. I encourage you to go out there and take a look at some of the others. Know that various different recording modes, frame rates, resolutions all change readout speeds on cameras. So take a look out there as best I can recommend for people. Release date. At least in the US, should be in March. So you should be able to get that, within March. So pretty short lead time. If you're looking at picking them up, I highly encourage you to go to your local dealer and get your orders in. Were there any tests regarding HDMI lag? If so, how does it compare to the latest generation of cameras? HDMI latency is going to be pretty similar to the GH7. So it's much faster than previous generation cameras. So for my eye, and I'm not necessarily the best one to, because I don't do actual like tests with this. I just look at it as I stream with it and how is it working. And it's been perfectly fine with audio out, all that kind of fun stuff. So yeah, it's an improvement over what we've seen in the previous ones. Let's hear, Dennis, 6K 60p full width means it should be better than on the S5 Mark II. Yes. Your mic level is too hot, Sean. It's clipping. Oh, sorry. I'm a little too excited, so sometimes I am speaking louder than I normally would. I apologize for the clipping audio. Clearly, you can see I'm not in my studio. I am here actually in our headquarters in New Jersey. So, does that rear screen come out and away when you tilt it up and out? Yes. So I want to make sure I show everybody this. So here is the rear screen on the S1R Mark II. Obviously, we can tilt up, so we can tilt all the way up. It can pull out, so you can get all the kind of angle and area that you want. It can tilt fully down, and then you also have full articulation with it. So all of these can be combined for movement. One of the things I know that someone asked in the chat a little bit earlier was about the new battery grip. So the grip is different from the S5 Mark II and the Mark IIX grip. Part of it is redesigned to the grip itself, which allows for the screen to be able to come down and properly move all the way down. The other is the ability to do things like hot swapping batteries while you're recording. It also gives you the ability to, when you're recording specifically to an external SSD, it allows you to do power sharing between the battery that's in the grip and the battery that's within the camera. Now that external SSDs are becoming much more common, and for a lot of people, they're a way better cost per gig ratio, the power consumptions have risen within cameras because now we're having to power an external SSD, and you do have to power them. So if you're going to be doing like higher frame rate, if you're going to be doing higher resolution stuff, you have a couple of options. You can either do the battery grip, which gives you all full enclosed, 2 batteries in the camera, hot swappable, all that fun stuff. Or if you're someone who's going to be working, say, maybe more in a studio where you're going to have the camera set up and you're not really ever going to change anything about it, you can always take a look at something like the DCC-18. This is the battery eliminator that pigtails down to a USB-C end. So even when you're on a tripod, if you're not using the grip, this comes out of the base plate so that it can be cleared and you can actually still keep it on a tripod. But even in the grip, you can use this instead. and you could be powering with an external source. The nice thing too is that if you're powering with this externally, right, and you're going to an SSD, if for some reason, because that mode that you're in requires to have the higher power budget with being able to use the power sharing functionality, if power gets pulled from this, it will close the video clip, and then you'll see it basically tell you like, hey, reconnect power so that you can continue recording. So lots of thought has been put into power on this camera so that it's a reliable tool, as we had mentioned. Some of the other benefits too is if you're using like an external SSD with pretty much any of the cameras and you move to something like an external power source, in general, you're supporting better thermals across the board because you're taking things like the internal memory cards out of the heat generation within products. So let's see here. A couple of the other questions. AF and Full HD. Yeah, you have PDAF pretty much across the camera. The cameras do utilize the appropriate autofocusing system across the board depending on various different parameters. So yeah, it's like the rest of our cameras. Yeah, solid performance. Full HD frame rate, you can go up to Full HD 120 frames per second. Is it the same for the 17 connection jack? I think you mean the DCC-17. The only difference between the 18 and the 17 is that the 18 has a USB-C end, the 17 has a barrel jack end. I think it's an AC-10 versus an AC-11 as far as the wall side power of that. So little differences between the two, but you can use those. It's recommended to use the DCC-18 though. Does it have a fan like the S5 IIX? Yes, this is an actively cooled camera. The cooling solution is in the same area as the S5 II series cameras. Dual ISO. Yes, this does have dual native ISOs. So you do have user selectable various ISO values depending on what different color profiles you're in. And I'm just going to pull up my notes here because I actually wrote them all out so that I can share them to everybody. I just have to remember where they are. Okay, so dual native ISOs on this camera are a little different than the S5 Mark II and the Mark IIX and previous generation Vlog cameras that we have. Because this sensor has a much better saturation point, which is why we can go down to 80 ISO as a kind of normalized range of your ISO values. Your ISO values change compared to the previous cameras. So if you're in like the standard profile, so that's standard, natural, vivid, flat, landscape, the monochrome profiles, those, your native ISOs are 80 and 400. So 80 will be your low range, 400 is your high range. If you are in hybrid log gamma, and this will be for both hybrid log gammas, you have HLG and then you have HLG full range, which is one you have to activate in the photo style menu. Those ISO values are going to be 320 for the low one or 1600 for the high range. If you are in the Cine-like profile, so that's Cine-like A, Cine-like D, and Cine-like V, these are going to be 160 ISO for the low range, 800 ISO for the high range. Now, if you're in Vlog, for Vlog, you have two separate dual ISO values. Vlog allows you to use DR expansion on, which will get you 14 stops of dynamic range, or DR expansion off, which will be around 13. DR expansion off is going to be ISO 200 and ISO 1000. So 200 for low, 1000 for high. If you have DR expansion on, or dynamic range expansion on, your ISO values will change to 400 ISO for low or 2000 ISO for high. Again, these values change from the previous generation cameras because this sensor has a better saturation point, because you can get more dynamic range at various different values. In general, it just becomes a more solid option for a hybrid user. Yeah, so it's kind of in general where your ISO values are. At some point, if I can remember it, when this is up, I'll put a timestamp where those ISO values are. so that it'll be easier to find them later. But we'll also talk about this in this coming Thursday's stream as well. Let's see here, some of the other questions that came up. Better audio quality. I'm not sure if you mean for the stream. If you mean for the stream, I apologize. Someone did mention out that I was clipping the audio before. I got a little too excited for the audio levels that I set before this. 120 frames per second HD. Yes, it has 120 frames per second in full HD. That's FHD, so 1080p. Where did we go? Some more questions here. Ventilation fan, we already talked about that one. With the new Flow app, does it work now with other Lumix cameras, and can it work with a mobile phone connected to the camera by USB-C? JC, so I think I talked about this in the beginning. Lumix Flow is iOS and Android compatible. You actually, I think you may be able to download it now. Honestly, I haven't been able to check on the Play Store or the App Store yet. You'll be able to use it without a Lumix camera if you want. When you plug it in over USB to the S1R Mark II, it will give you also video monitor functionality, as well as all of the workflow side that we have in the camera or in the app. It is expected to be compatible with S5 Mark II, S5 Mark II, S5 Mark II X, and the GH7, but that kind of stuff will come in a firmware update down the line. Hybrid zoom, new feature that integrates NOS and DJI, not specific. Thank you. Hybrid zoom is included in the S1R Mark II. Same with things like Live View Composite. For the photographers out there, this might be one of those kind of things that you've been waiting for. I know a lot of people have been asking us about it. The S1R Mark II also has the return of multiple exposure for stills capture within this camera. So we're really excited that we've got multiple exposure back. You still have Live View Composite, high resolution shot mode. You have the really fast burst rates for mechanical shutter. So if you're using flash, you've got up to 10 frames per second. Electronic shutter up to, it's at 40 frames per second with up to 1.5 seconds for pre-burst. It's a really feature-packed camera for $32.99 US for the body. Let's see here. We talked about the rear screen. The other questions. Is there ventilation? We already talked about that one. Release date, I think we covered that one already. Release date's going to be in March. You'll have availability. I have to say in March because it's going to vary a little bit depending on the particular region you're in, as far as when your dealers, when your local stores are going to be able to have inventory and when it actually gets out to you. So, battery. So we already talked about the battery. Man, so many comments and questions. Thank you all so much for jumping on here and giving us these awesome questions. Is there lag over HDMI USB smartphone monitoring? Is it more video oriented? Will there be B-RAW internal recording? No idea on the last two parts of your question. There is a fan. The HDMI and USB latency is minimized, so it's, in my opinion, it's right in line with what you see across the board for these things. Battery life figures I don't have offhand. I will make sure to have that kind of information for Thursday. I want to make sure I have the information for everybody. Can you just confirm that 4K 60p is actually downsampled full sensor? I assume 4K 120 must have line skipping or a crop though. 4K 120 is full area, so there's no crop in 4K 120. 4K 60 is actually downsampled from the full sensor's resolution. So yeah, you have downsampled 4K 60p. Is Capture One tethering shooting done through USB or Wi-Fi? It is USB hard tethered for Capture One. All right, let's see. We're going to wrap up the questions in a minute here. Like I said, we're going to be back again this Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, where I'll have a different setup where I'll actually be able to plug into the S1R Mark II, and we can look at menus, and I can show you all that kind of stuff like we normally do on LUMIX Live. So as soon as I get that kind of info, you'll be able to get that. Where do we go? All right, well, I think looking at that, because I see a lot of kind of repeat questions. With that, everybody, thank you all so much, so much for joining us today. We are super excited about this camera launch, about the S1R Mark II. It's been a long time coming, I know, for a lot of users out there of the LUMIX S1, the S1R, the original S1R. And yeah, I really look forward to answering more of your questions on Thursday, walking through some more in-depth parts about this camera, since I'll be able to plug it in and we'll be able to actually go through the menus. But other than that, again, thanks everybody for tuning in. From myself, the US team, the international teams, Europe, the team in Japan, thank you all so much for your support and your excitement over this launch. We can't wait to see what all of you do when you get the S1R Mark II in your hands. Other than that, I hope everyone has a beautiful rest of your day, your evening, wherever you are joining us from, and look forward to seeing you all on Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, if you would like, over on the LUMIX USA channel. Take care, everybody.